Once again, peaceful protesters have demonstrated that there really is no such thing. Rather, the term is becoming more and more of an oxymoron. Yet, many of their leftist demands are being implemented upon police through local authorities, and the police are starting to feel its effects as well as the local citizens. We'll look at some examples of this in this episode of Activate America, getting active to throw off government tyranny. Last week in Seattle, 59 officers were hurt when a protest of about 5,000 people turned into a riot. According to KIRO 7, some in the crowd broke into a construction site that was adjacent to the Juvenile Youth Detention Center and set 5 trailers on fire, which were destroyed. About a dozen in the crowd used sledgehammers to vandalize the personal vehicles of workers of the nearby juvenile justice facility. KIRO 7 reported King County Youth Detention Officer Daryl Bro saw her smashed and slashed SUV while her fellow workers were overcome with emotion seeing the demolition of every worker's car. "I didn't deserve this, okay? I'm a hard-working individual, college-educated young lady, black lady at that, born and raised in Seattle," she said. When she saw her fellow workers' cars also destroyed, Daryl wondered what the point was when county leaders already committed to closing the facility in 5 years. She mentioned in a video interview, "This is what Black Lives Matter does. I'm not with it." For a few hours, the rioters vandalized and destroyed property and injured police officers. Rioters looted and destroyed a Starbucks and tried to do the same thing to the police precinct, including using an explosive device to blast an 8-inch hole through the building's wall. At that point, police had had enough and declared a riot. However, the police chief had already let the public know that morning that tear gas would not be used. In fact, the leftist city council had unanimously passed an ordinance the week before, according to KIRO 7, that banned the use of tear gas, pepper spray, and other crowd dispersal tools. A few days later, a federal judge intervened and ordered a temporary restraining order against that. Police Chief Carmen Best then followed up with a promise to not use tear gas, but would use pepper spray. Now, to give her some credit, she did tell the city council, "Under these circumstances, as created by council, we cannot manage demonstrations as we have in the past. If I am not allowed to lawfully equip officers with the tools they have been trained to use to protect the community and themselves, it would be reckless to have them confront this level of violence under the current legal restrictions imposed by council." Based on the council tying the hands of the police, nearly 60 officers were injured. Perhaps the council should pass an ordinance that forces each of them to spend a week with an officer so they can know firsthand the consequences their actions have on these officers. Or better yet, an ordinance that forces the council to serve as law enforcement opposite of these rioters. When one looks at the news footage of this riot, the moment the police begin to move forward toward the crowd, the trained agitators in the crowd open up umbrellas to conceal their movements, probably so they can throw items at the officers without being seen. Of course, the umbrellas also double as weapons. Unfortunately, this is not an isolated incident. This is the same tactic seen a couple weeks ago at the Chicago riot, which denotes the organization of highly trained provocateurs as seen in communist training materials throughout the last century. Another casualty of leftist demands upon the police, the city of Milwaukee, is set to host the Democratic National Convention in a few weeks, and according to the Associated Press, has seen more than 100 police agencies withdraw from agreements to send personnel to bolster security, in part because they're concerned about a recent directive ordering police in the city to stop using tear gas to control crowds. In most instances, it's the mayor that hires or appoints the chief of police. But the city of Milwaukee has been saddled with a civilian oversight commission since 1885. It's named the Milwaukee Board of Fire and Police Commissioners. It appears its function is to micromanage the operations of both the fire and police departments. As it boasts on its website, since 1885, no person has been appointed or promoted to any position in either the police department or the fire department without commission approval. The commission is appointed by the mayor and approved by the city's common council. The whole point of the commission, according to its website, is to remove politics out of the operations of the departments. But in reality, what it really does is just add more bureaucracy, which in turn creates additional opportunity to interject politics. After listening to leftist input, the commission ordered a series of 11 directives that basically made it much more difficult for the police chief to do his job, while at the same time appeases radical leftists by taking away crowd-controlling tools like tear gas and pepper spray. The John Birch Society has been advocating against civilian review boards since the 1960s for this very same reason, that they interfere with the job of the police, tying the hands of the officers so they cannot do their job effectively, which drives down morale and then, of course, creates a situation of additional crime and more opportunity to call upon the federal government to intervene. And these are baby steps that are set up to help form a national police force. As we pointed out in earlier videos, local elected officials are reflective of the local electorate. If your leaders are not following the limitations of their office or reflecting the values of the electorate, then you change the leaders by changing the mind of the electorate. To do so, you must be engaged in your local community. The John Birch Society organizes at the grassroots level to help you educate or inform your electorate. So to change the police reforms, you must target the right audience. Find out who has oversight over your police operations and pass along educational materials that expose the various ways that police are under attack. If it's the mayor, then target voters with material. If it's a commission, well, chances are strong that they're already staffed with the same types of people that are protesting in the streets. Engage with like-minded voters to see if there is an appetite to launch a local campaign to get rid of the commission. Certainly not an easy thing to do, but it would certainly garner publicity, and it may take many attempts. You might even succeed in getting people appointed to the commission that could eventually help to dismantle it. In any event, these riots and even all that has happened and is happening with the government mandates in response to COVID-19 has demonstrated that not one of us can afford to sit idly by. You're urged to join our organization if you're not yet a member, and members are urged to stay active by engaging in educational activities as they are able. Our July 9th, 2020 special report on what's really behind the riots from the New American Magazine is the best place to start. Links are in the video description. Until next time, this is Bill Hahn for the John Birch Society saying stay active, everyone.